All right, Shalom Israel. Quick video. Giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Rakakadash, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shai, double honors to the apostles, elders, bishops, great millstone. My salutations to the brothers teaching word for the hopeful elect, soon to be the elect, most high will. To the hopeful extended elect, Shalom, blessings, men, women, and children. And there is an elect, you know.
Violence after the arrest of three teens and the murder of a 15-year-old in a public park.
WALB Wesley White Jr. was shot and killed in Scott Park Saturday night, shortly after leaving his job at a local country club. WALB News 10's Brittany Blake shares how the community is working together to stop senseless violence.
Wesley White Jr. was just 4 days from completing his sophomore year at Lowndes High School when he was found dead in a...
Now, one thing too, they always mentioned that he was going to be a great success, or like he was working on his degree and all that. So they tied education with a lot of this, you know, to promote. You know, all this is promotion. They don't care about us. You know, for us to be on the news is promoting their agenda. You know, with ongoing miseducation, ongoing philosophies of America, ongoing, you know, just the guidance is wrong in the first place. And a lot of these YNs today are raised by black women, you know, these ones that are getting shot up in the street and doing the shooting. And we don't even know the backstory of this. I don't want to read into it, but it's you know.
Parking lot at Scott Park. 3 other teens are charged with his murder, ages 16 and 17.
Ages 16 and 17, man. You still under your parents' wing, but I bet this coming from a single parent home, which, you know, which really majority is the black woman. You know, and as long as they talking about stop the violence, well, as long as it's going to be a reoccurring door, as long as they don't want order in the home, they don't want a man in the home, a righteous man at that. They'll shun a righteous man, and a righteous man will teach his son to grow up right. So they've burnt their bridges with black men. You know, that's why you got passport brothers and things like that.
Wesley's sisters and his girlfriend are now speaking out about the need for teen violence to stop across the city.
So like none of this, it done hit home. It really makes you open your eyes to a lot of stuff, like the gun violence, the gang banging, like everything it has to stop. Like it needs to come to a stop.
Cariana and Kiera.
And I don't know if that's a Penthouse shirt. You know, these young women they don't have order either.
Cariana and Kiera White know the stories behind their brother's death, but they're focused on carrying on his memory.
See, they know the story behind his death.
We don't like put the blame on people. We're not worried about the negative comments or anything like that. We're just
Now you see, going back. Now these are the ones that did him in. But look how he's dressed, man. Like one of those rappers. He probably talks shit. I don't know, but that's what most teens do, raised up under these black women, you know. And that scripture says, Hosea 4:6, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, because thou hast rejected knowledge, which these women do, black women that are raised in these YNs. I will also reject thee, that thou shalt be no priest to me, saying that thou hast forgotten the law of thy God. I will also forget thy children. So Most High ain't putting knowledge, wisdom, understanding in your children because you forgot his law. And this is how they grow up. They don't learn anything They always talk about he's almost a graduate, whatever. That doesn't matter. What's being taught in the home, that's what matters. It's a true statement that education starts at home. Education, that word goes back to from within, to draw from within. You know, you're supposed to have education in the home, true education, not the so-called white man's education. So for one, these YNs are not learning anything at all, and then they rapidly run the streets, own guns, come back home. All the mother says, "Yeah, y'all just be careful." You know, she's worried about her new boyfriend. You know, I want y'all out the house, and they only 14 and 15, still considered in America, still considered as you know, I don't know. I guess you call it adolescent, that age with you're still under your parents' supervision, according to law. You know, so and it says in the scriptures that Most High didn't depart her with wisdom. Oh, the ostrich thing too. Let me get that. So, crushes her young ones. Job 39:16. I started. Job 39:15, and forget that the foot may crush. Job 39:13. Gavest thou the goodly wings unto a peacock's? The peacocks are wings that and feathers unto the ostrich, which leaveth her eggs in the earth and warmeth them in the dust, and forget that the foot may crush them, or that the wild beast may break them. She is hardened against her young ones, as though they were not hers. Her labor is in vain without fear, because God had deprived her of wisdom, neither hath he imparted to her understanding. So that's why it tells you about asking, when a woman learns anything, let her learn from her husband at home. You know, now, it's this thing too where if the man is not in the truth and the woman is, she could persuade her husband to come into the truth, and he'll gain knowledge and wisdom and understanding, and he'll teach her. You know, but these women, they don't believe in God. They don't follow the Most High's laws. They got a problem with order, so their house is out of order, and their children are out of order. You know, and that's why this is a reoccurring thing, revolving door, and they'll never get rid of the problem, because they'll never come under any kind of order. Now with this new world order, they will. So-called white man's order, they will. You know, and like I said, they always choose one against the other, divide and conquer, when they talking about, when they putting this in the news. Now the young female said they know the story behind it. This dude here, he is probably flossing money on, it says, which is that Rich Roy, whatever, flossing money, probably talking shit. Yeah, I got more money than all y'all. Fuck y'all. You know? Whatever the case may be, it's always a backstory. And it's, I'm not justifying these YNs, but some happen. I mean, a lot of times they just think they most of the time they make black people think they walking around, crazy and wild, and they said they would be. They said they would, even the love of many shall wax cold. But there's a lot of times there's a backstory to this, and whether it's a word said, whether it's flossing money, whether it's telling somebody the other person ain't shit, or whether they I'm pretty sure they go to school together, and rumors build up, females are involved, these females, these young females gossip and talk behind each other's back, talk about, my man this, your man ain't shit, this and that. That's not true knowledge, wisdom, understanding. That's why she's cursed. You gotta stay away from her. Stay away from 2/3. You know, this is the type of, but then they say community pushes to stop teen violence. Man, that's why we know the black community has failed. If this was the case, and they know the answer or solution, which is, they'll go to the so-called white man to solve the situation. And if they were, Most High was dealing with them, that it would have stopped already. They would have stopped all this already. They would have let the man back in the home. They would have, wanted to be with a righteous man to raise their children right. But a lot of these black women, a lot of these, even the, dudes too, they glorify this lifestyle. So it's almost like hypocritical. You want to stop the violence, but you'll promote violence. You'll promote these songs that talk about killing niggas and selling dope. So Most High don't care about y'all, man. He said he'll forget you and your children, and you're destroyed for lack of knowledge, man. You're destroyed. This is destruction. And then you cry to the so-called white man, but he hasn't stopped the problem. He allowed guns to be put on the streets, so y'all can keep killing each other, man. But hey, that's why we said 2/3 club, man. And this looked like it says Penthouse, man, which goes back to Playboy and all that crap magazines and all that. So I don't know. I mean, this is what it is. This is where Jake is today. That's why Jacob's Trouble is coming. We keep telling you about Jacob's Trouble, man. And that's why the deportation is taking place. That's why the draft is going to take place to go into this World War III. They're going to start gaffling up niggas and putting them in the concentration camps. They got alligator Alcatraz. All these new things are coming into surface to, to usher in the Jacob's Trouble, and that's according to prophecy. So anyway, hopefully it was edifying. Shalom.